call the meeting of the City Design Review Board to order. Everybody was mailed and emailed a copy of the minutes of last month's meeting. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, changes? None?
Who approves submitted?
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting dates for 2024, and I'll review those dates. Okay. The next item is approval for the 2024 meeting dates for next year, and I reviewed it. There's no national holidays today. So that's part of your packet there. If somebody wants to review those dates, I can have a motion or discussion. Motion approved. All in favor? Okay, the meeting dates are. Our first case for public hearing today is case DRB 2023-21. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness for renovations to be made to the building located at 400 West Chevis Street, specifically identified as Florence County Tax Number 90074-07-001, located in the D2 Downtown Overlay District. Staff?
Good afternoon. Thank you for. I'm going to bundle this with request 22, which is demolition of the building located immediately next to it at 410 West Chevis, and that building happens to be in the D1 redevelopment overlay district for some reason. So. The applicant is seeking a COA to restore the building at 400 into office space, and then he's also seeking a COA to demolish the attached building addressed as 410 in order to provide additional on-site parking for that new office space. And on December 11th, the Historical Commission did look at this request for demolition and determined there is no historical significance to 410. So they've issued the ROA, Record of Official Action, accordingly. So there's no delay with that. This is a vicinity map. It is located at the corner of West Chevis and South McQueen Streets. As you can see, 400 is in the downtown overlay district, and 410, even though they're on the same parcel and they're a conjoined building, is in the redevelopment overlay district. They are zoned Central Business District, and so this is the site plan. This is the building to be removed. You can see it on the left, and then the location of the new parking using the existing driveway in the location of the footprint of the old building that they want to remove. The scope of work involves painting the building the same color that it is now, kind of a buff color, repairing, replacing the trim, painting it white, putting in new windows all around, and removing the awnings and replacing the roof with the same style of the. These are the elevations. As you can see, the front windows are slightly different style. It looks like they were just sheet glass on the old windows, but the windows on the sides do mimic the existing 4 paned windows on the side, and then there's 2, as you see in a moment, that are just picture windows. There's the front elevation again, and then the footprint, or the floor plan rather, of the building. So they'll have an entryway and then 4 offices. These are some pictures from 2017. As you can see, they were picture windows generally. And then for the building on the side of the building has the 4 pane windows and then picture windows for the 2 large. The main difference, pretty much the only difference, is they are going to remove the door on the side of the building. So that'll be pretty much the only structural change to it. And these are current photos. As you can see, it's in pretty rough shape. So, but again, they'll restore the windows, remove the awnings, paint it, and replace the roof. So, basic form will be preserved. The windows are in their same location with the same style. The awnings will be removed. We're not even sure when those were added. Brick will be repainted the same color it is to make it cohesive. And the roof will be replaced with the same style and color. So it's just a renovation of the existing structure, no real changes made to it. So that concludes staff's report.
Okay, anybody have any questions of staff?
Windows will be like storefront or
Yes, sir.
Questions of staff? Anyone here to speak in this matter? Okay, having none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open it up for discussion or an approval. Denial.
And I'll need a vote for each one separately, the renovation and then the demolition.
An improvement.
On both of them? Second.
All in favor? Aye. Both matters are approved.
So, good.
Okay, our next case for public hearing is case DRB 2023-23. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness for changes to be made at landscaping of the property located at 310 South Dargan Street, specifically identified as Florence County map number 90087-06-015, located in the D3 Arts Cultural Overlay District. Staff?
All right, the applicant is the new owner of the former Florence Morning News building, and they want to remove 18 mature trees from this parcel. It is located between East Palmetto and East Pine Street along South Dargan. And it is zoned, it's in the Arts and Cultural Overlay District, and it is also zoned Central Business District. So this is the plan that the applicant gave us with the 18 plants that they want to, trees that they want to remove, and then number 19 is a, I believe it's a crepe myrtle that they want to move forward away from the building. As you can see, a lot of them are foundation plantings. 16, 17, and 18 are actually street trees, which would need to be approved by the city's Parks Commission. And here's a list of the specific trees that they're removing and their sizes. So 19 is a 10-inch crepe myrtle that they're proposing, just relocating it slightly. And then these are just photos with of the specific trees that they want to. There is no plan for mitigation. Nothing's been submitted for that. It sounds like just this tree. So that concludes staff's report.
Okay. Anyone have any questions of staff?
I mean, according to like the requirement for landscaping, are these in excess of that, or would that?
They would still have the adequate parking lot landscaping with trees on the islands and such. That it would reduce their foundation plantings, so they would need to add back some shrubbery and a couple of understories. I have had the next door neighbor, the owner of Hamilton House Antiques, and he is unable to be here today, being Christmas season, but he strenuously objects to this. Feels that it would detract from the attractiveness of the parcel and the contribution of the trees to wanted me to express it.
Okay. Any questions of staff? Is there anyone here to speak on this matter? Okay. Okay, if you can approach the podium and state your name.
I'm Janet Brand's wife. And yeah, I just happened to visit David yesterday, and he told me about this. So I didn't really prepare anything or prepare really to speak. But can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, is the building going to be demoed? The Florence Morning?
Not that we're aware of at this point.
Okay. I kind of agree with David that I feel like Florence, I mean, with the exception of McLeod Hospital, done beautiful landscape. Cherokee Road, Timrod Park, Jeffries Creek. The rest of Florence basically looks like a continuous strip mall, you know, very little greenery. So I mean, unless it's absolutely necessary to cut down trees, I feel like we need to keep as many established trees as we can. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Ms. Brand.
My name is Baron Irvin, I'm representative. And what we're looking at, that building was constructed in landscape in 1995, and the landscape plantings were installed and the trees. I think some of those trees that are out there in the islands are left over from before the property was developed. So it's a very attractive building, but over the years, that landscape has grown up. Those bushes in front of the building have grown up their own against the building, and it really covers up. You don't have any view of the building. So we got Jinx Farmer, who's a landscape. He designed 4 botanical gardens, and he did the landscaping over at the museum. And got Jinx over there and asked him for recommendations, you know, how to improve the look of it. I mean, the goal of this is to make South Dargan Street corridor look more attractive. And really these suggestions, what we're asking for are based on his recommendations as a landscape design. A lot of the trees that are out there in those islands are diseased and dying, limbs falling off of them. So we submitted this, and then we also got Eric Healy to look at and give his recommendation. His were more aggressive than what Jinx were. And I don't know what the planning requirement, like foundation planning, are, but one thing that Eric talked about was that would modernize it, make it look more contemporary, would be to plant grass, in those areas that are really, those trees have just gotten really big. They're fit, I guess, when they planted them, but they've gotten over the last 30 years, they've gotten so big that they're really kind of overpowering, blocking. He was saying doing like a strip in front, and then doing all the front in grass and sod. I mean, it's not cutting down all the trees. One of them is Bradford Pear, is now no longer, can't even sell. I think it's against the law to sell them because it's an invasive species out there. This is most definitely an effort to improve the overall look of South Dargan. That's really the only goal. So, we consulted 2 well-respected landscape architect designers, and we're going with our That's what we've submitted is based on what they recommend to us. So, you know, what they said is, because I said, do we need to plant back some different trees? And they said, what you're going to do when you take these out, you're going to, it's overgrown, it's too much. When you take this out, it'll let the trees that are left expand into the space that they're suited. So that's, anybody's got any questions?
Things like it is, worse and worse.
Yeah, like if you look in front of the building, there's, you know, I mean, the other thing they said is it's really more of the style of that landscaping for 30 years ago, I guess.
Do you have a proposed landscape plan to go back yet?
Well, and that's what, when I was asking them, I said, what do we need to plant back? That's what they were saying. This is really thinning out. It's a huge lot. It's almost 4 acres. So they said, you need to get rid of these, and what is left can spread out and give it room to fill up. So
You have a rough estimate how many trees that will be remaining?
well, actually, if you bring up that first sheet that you had. All right, so all of the trees that are just green are all staying. The ones with the red dots on them are the ones being taken out. So you see there's a lot for staying. For staying. So like if you look there at 1, 2, and 3 in that island, those are in the process of dying. The one that there's 3 above it, just adjacent to the building, those are maple trees. They're too big for the space. Roots are all growing out of the top of the ground.
I have a question. It might
Sure.
be more for staff. When you came up with the design guidelines for the number of trees per property, is that based on what you want on each property, or is it to also make up for all the lots around it that are going to be grandfathered in that don't have enough trees? Like, where did those designs come from? Because what I'm getting at, I was in your shoes, same process where I thought it was overkill what was being required of what we had to put on our property because it didn't really fit our property or our neighbors. And I think not having enough trees relative to your neighbors can be a problem. I think having too much following guidelines can make you stand out just too much. And I think it's also kind of about the consistency of that neighborhood. So I didn't have time to ride down and see what the properties next to it are. But I mean, if these are making this property look overgrown and vacant compared to the ones next to it, I mean, that could be a pretty good case. I know there's the issue of crime and foot traffic, and the more trees and shrubs you have, the less safe it can appear. I never thought of that with my wife in an office full of women. That safety is a huge concern when they go out to their car at the parking lot or have kids like where you can't see it if you're a car coming. So I don't know if those are factors in that area as well. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of nice trees in that area. You don't want to see go away without something to replace them if they're dying. So I can see arguments for both sides, but wondering a little more from staff, like how that fits that.
So this property was developed prior to the design guidelines at the time it was probably built. design, it was for any of the new overlay district requirement. There really wasn't any. Our previous code had pretty much zero landscaping requirements. But the intent with the design guidelines is certainly to is by law, and not to intended to make up for the loss that may properties that lack. And over time, there are times where it's necessary to trees that have overtaken certain areas and allow for other shrubs or trees to fill in the space accordingly. So I think that may answer your question.
Yes, it's under several repair. When is there a landscape plan that's made the last 30 years? There'll be some modification.
I would say, like everything needs maintenance. So there's no home or commercial property to be built that build it and let it go for 30 years. You've got your standard maintenance that you need to do, just like with landscape.
Right, but you've got a new owner of a property, just bought a property, it wasn't theirs, so now they've got it. You said they're trying to. So, look at the pictures.
We know neighbor who opposed it had this exact drawing, was able to identify the ones that, or was he just generally opposed to removing trees? So he did with it.
And I guess they're probably working with a landscaper that they're paying. I mean, is there someone, from what I understand, the whole purpose of the design review board is not every guideline fits every situation. And if we have a professional landscaper making this professional recommendation to make the property better from a landscaping angle, I think that carries a lot of weight.
I'm a landscaper. My business is that as well. And I've looked at it. It doesn't appear that it's excessive what we're asking for. If you compare it to things, there is still plenty remaining. It's not out of line. I wouldn't think it's an outlandish request. I do respect and understand wanting to keep trees in place. So I'm a bit torn on both, really.
And I don't know what the use is of the building, but if it's something where you want people to see what you do and see your building, you don't want a bunch of trees blocking that. You want to fit in the neighborhood as well. So uses, whether having people see it when they ride by, adds value.
Also, the trees against the building, that's a common problem. Older trees against the building.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open it up for discussion and a motion. We've heard the opinion of our landscaper and our engineer.
Still not clear on how close they are to say this was a brand new property. What's the minimum required? And if they're close to that, even if they don't.
I think they are. I wouldn't know that exactly, but there is a decent bit remaining, and some of what's remaining is very large. So, your plans.
Will they have to submit a landscape plan later?
Yes. So if they do any improvements to the building, landscaping, they'll have to come before the board again. To, I guess, kind of answer your question regarding if this property had existing trees and shrubs on it, they were getting ready to build something new. And as part of the Unified Development Ordinance and through the design guidelines, there would be the opportunity for them to survey and show all the existing vegetation and to essentially offset what the new requirements would be. So they would be able to use existing vegetation to help meet the requirements of the landscape.
I'll make that also a part of the motion.
Don't we have the landscape?
They did not submit the landscape plan. But we can ask the city staff to use the landscape plan as guide.
I got the impression that once they remove these trees, that will be the landscaping that will be staying, and that will be their landscaping.
Said something about grass.
Yeah.
Planting grass.
We'll probably add, we've discussed it, but in that big island at the bottom, I think we probably would wind up putting at least one or two trees or some sort of planting back down there at the bottom. But if you just got rid of all of the ones with red dots, I guess technically that would be the landscape. So, and I think something needs to go, particularly where those two,
On the island?
number 1 and 2, I mean, that's a big space.
I think as long as the overall property meets minimal guidelines, I mean, it's a good thing, even though short term it won't look as well, but I mean, trees get old and these overgrown, place new ones. It's not like they're wiping the whole property out and planting new trees, so you'll have a mixture of the original trees and new ones. But I mean, unless there's a safety concern or other things that reason not to have the minimal number, I think as long as they're replaced.
And what would be the minimum landscape?
Well, it meets it for parking, for the parking islands, having the trees and understory trees along the little parking islands. It does meet that, even with the trees removed. But the only thing, excuse me, that it would not meet would be the building itself is required to have a certain number of shrubs, particularly around the front of the building. So it'll be a little bit short of, I think it's 20 shrubs for every 50 feet, something like that. And then a couple of understory trees. So the south side looks like it has an understory tree there, and then moving that crepe myrtle. So it might be okay with the understory trees. It could use a few shrubs along the foundation. But I think otherwise it does meet the bare minimum that the ordinance does require.
Would it be acceptable if demo or them to come back? Approved by staff.
Landscape plan.
Whenever they get around to the building.
Don't have any. Like I said, it's really to make that South Garden look. The building's very attractive. I don't know, you'd never note it by riding down the street. You don't notice it from Dargan, completely obscured by all these shrubs and trees. And it's a great looking building. Being able to see it and having landscape that you can see, where the landscape kind of sets off. It's probably the nicest looking non-publicly owned, non-McLeod building in downtown. Or
It is a
Francis Marion.
beautiful building.
And it's not, it's a little different.
Demolition. City capital. Adding to that, the city capital. Final landscape plan. Have to be a landscape plan.
Did that be done in
Prior
staff?
to the demolition.
I can say that again. Make a motion to approve the demolition. Contingency. Submit a landscape.
And that doesn't have to come back here. Just through the house, right?
I think all three of us.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our final case for discussion today is case DRB 2023-25. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness for wall signage on building located at 182 West Evans Street, specifically identified as Florence County Tax Map Number 90168-02-027 in the H1 Historic Overlay District. Staff?
All right. The applicant is seeking a COA to use a sign from her current storefront on South Cashua Drive at her new retail space at 182 West Evans Street, which is in the historical overlay district. The sign in question is an interior lit sign with a flat acrylic face. It's located at the corner of Evans and Irby Street, the former location of My Lady's 182. This is the sign in question at her existing location on South Cashua Avenue. It is interior lit. And then this is where she would like to relocate it to, the My Lady's 182 on Evans Street. You have also in front of you, Scott Collins and Dr. Keith were unable to come today, but they both expressed their concerns that while this is a attractive sign for a suburban shopping strip, they don't feel that it advances the aesthetic that we've been looking for in the downtown historic district. So they just wanted to make that known.
That's scale.
Roughly. I believe it's a 3x5 foot sign. I think it's about 15 square feet. So it's probably a little bit big. The gooseneck lighting is in place. So generally, interior lit signs may be used only if they're approved by the board, and generally, especially in the downtown historic district, dimensional signs are preferred and have typically been recommended and approved and strongly encouraged. So, but yeah, it's 15 square foot with a 7-inch deep aluminum frame. So that concludes staff's report.
Okay, on that block of West Evans, are there any interior lit signs on that block?
Don't believe so.
Anyone have any questions of staff?
Might be for that, but this is an existing sign there.
That's correct.
Anyone here to speak in this matter? Okay, approach the podium and state your name, please.
My name is Gloria Anderson, and I am co-owner of Trinity Twist Boutique. My question to you all, the sign do not have to be lighted. It don't have to be lighted. Now, we just light it at our location we at now, but it don't have to be lighted. You know, I see her make that statement, but it don't have to be a lighted sign. You don't have to plug it up and light it. You can just add the Trinity Twist Boutique, but it don't have to be lighted. I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay, thanks. Anyone have any questions for her?
So you would just use that gooseneck lighting to shine light on it instead of...
Right, it don't have to be plugged up. You know, it don't have to be lighted. You know, you just have the Trinity Twist Boutique, which when I saw the picture, I thought it looked really good.
So is it more about... And this is the first thought I had as a business owner, and to like to repurpose stuff. Is it also like save the cost on a sign because you can use...
Yeah, we can just switch. Well, we really won't have no use for the sign if we have to just get rid of it.
Right.
You know, so that's what we were thinking about. Me and my other partner were just thinking about just relocating the sign. Actually, the building is so tall, so you really couldn't really see the sign at all to me. So, you know, the building has got a high frame up on it. You know, if you ever went down there and look at it, you can't really look up there and say, that's My Lady's 182. because the sign is so high. You know, so that's that.
Another question of staff, are there any box signs out there that aren't lit that you're aware of?
I think there's a few that are more on the edge of town, like the Courtney's Cupcake sign is a box sign, and I think that one is interior lit. It's just the historic core, I don't think there are any.
So, they paint that up there, that would be the guidelines?
Well, it would need to be in the guidelines, it would need to be three-dimensional, so like if they had just the letters, Trendy Twist Boutique, and on pins and put those on, or put them on a backboard of some kind. I think it's the acrylic, flat face, and the interior lighting that really do not meet the guidelines.
I know it saves money reusing the sign, but aren't there grants, working with the city, help?
You have a $500 sign grant. Right.
There's still funds available.
Yes.
Anyone have any other questions of staff, or? No, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open it up for discussion or motion.
Kind of agree with Scott as well, even though it's a great looking sign, it would be out of place on that section of Evans. It would blend in, add to town. I would encourage them to take advantage of the sign grant and do a lettering blend in their ready.
I would second.
Making a motion?
Well,
Making a
I have
motion.
a question. So, $500. I mean, could that cover the cost of a nice 3D lettering, or is that just gonna, like, what's the cost of a?
I mean, you can go as expensive as you wanted to go. You can do a basic or it could be half of it.
It really won't cover the cost of the sign. I spoke with Hannah this morning. We would have to get the sign first. I already, talked to her just in case, So she said that we would have to get the sign first, but we won't know how much the sign would cost, But she will allow us $500.
It's a reimbursement. I think you have to pay
It's a
for it.
reimbursement, really.
I mean, and my other question would be: is there any guideline against a sign inside of your building? Like, I mean, I see all these windows, and I mean, use the 3D lettering up top, but preferably not lit up, but have that sign more at a ground level, people can see on the inside of your window.
The ordinance does permit window signs, but they can only take up like less than 25% of the glass space. I mean, it would be kind of neat to just have it against the back wall of your storefront or store on the inside. Just go that kind of. There'd be no problem with that. It would be visible through the window at the ground level.
I'm thinking the only time it'd be lit up is probably at night when you're not open, but it's marketing. But if you had it lit up on the inside, the people walking by would still see it. There might be and you have a lot of windows, so you'd be under that 25%. That might be a way you could still repurpose your old sign, take advantage of the grant, something that fits more.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. If she put it on an interior wall, even if it was visible from through the window, as long as it's not up against the window, there's nothing against that. So you certainly could use it inside the building.
I believe we had in the process of a motion.
So a motion to take advantage of sign reimbursement sign grant to signage, either on a board or brick. Um, rest of the downtown guidelines.
On favor? Okay, that's our last case of the year, guys. I appreciate y'all's time. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. Anything from staff?
We're gonna send out the RFPs for the design guidelines in the near future, so we'll get started on those.
Just one quick note, lady here. I just happened to pull up Amazon while we were talking. You can probably for that $500 get metal letters that are that same size as existing or bigger, or within that $500 budget. To say your name of your business on Amazon. They save you some money. Yep.
Or use the local business.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, or local.